The Ramadan, which is the most important month in the Hijri Islamic calendar, is a month of repentance, month of prayers, month of less food and less drink and more prayer and more repentance. And definitely people feel closer to Allah during this month. This created through the history of the Islamic nation tensions between the population and rulers in many places, because rulers didn't come to power in sometimes in a good way, like by assassinating their predecessors, or the way they behave. Either they drink or they eat things which are not supposed to be eaten in Islam, or in the moral code of their behaviors not always were nice. And of course the way in which they treated their people. So during Ramadan there were tensions in many places and many times between the populations and the rulers. This is why, by the way, the Ottoman Empire in many places used to announce the beginning of the fast every morning or every dawn by a shot from a cannon. First of all, to tell the people, hey, now it's the time for fast, but also to remind the people who is behind the cannon, and they should better be very careful before they say something against the ruler, or especially doing something against the ruler. So this was how Ramadan was in the Islamic world traditionally. By the way, I dedicated my op-ed in the Israel National News exactly to this issue. You can read it online. The thing is that what you see this Ramadan especially, the increase of the terrorist attacks. It was in France, it was in Tunisia, it was in Kuwait. What you see today in Sinai, the war, what you see in Syria, which is not only increased by the Ramadan, but definitely the Ramadan adds to the adrenaline, to the religious adrenaline, which definitely motivates people to launch more attacks against the infidels and all those who are viewed as the enemies of the Islamic name. Initially, Ramadan is a month of repentance and cleansing the sins by returning to Allah, by becoming closer to Allah, by feeling that Allah is more with us and He wants us and we want Him. And definitely this is the basis or the idea behind Ramadan. Yet it creates more sensitivity to religious issues, which increases in some cases the readiness of people to act for Allah and for the Islam against those who are viewed as those who do not walk according to the Islamic path or do not adhere to the Islamic commandments. Well, in Sinai there is a war. I would even say an all-out war. It's not a new thing, because Sinai became a vacuum of lawlessness, and many jihadists came from Egypt, from other parts of the world, into Sinai, found there a safe haven, and they are acting against the regime big time. And the regime, I would say, tried to ignore this problem for a long time, but when you ignore small problems, they become big problems. And this is actually what happened in Sinai. And today the Egyptian regime has to pay a very high price in order to get rid of those jihadists. And it's very hard, because they are in the population of Sinai, they are interwoven into the tribes of the Bedouins over there. They hide in the mountains, in the caves. It's very, very hard to find them and to send them to the place which they...
Do you think Israel need to concern?
Definitely there are reasons for Israel to be concerned, because jihadists on the border from the other side will one time be willing to shoot whatever they have, not only at the Egyptians but also to the Israelis, especially if Israel is viewed as taking part in the campaign against them. And don't forget that we are Jews. We have no right to have any state in the Middle East. We have to be subjugated to Islam. We have to live under the Islamic rule as dhimmis. And since we keep to our rights to a state and statehood, we are actually acting against Islam. That's why we deserve the jihad against us, especially by those jihadists who wouldn't see any legitimacy to the state of Israel.
What do you think Israel government need to do?
Well, all ger comme à la guerre. At a war, like at a war, you cannot shut your eyes and say, hey, since they don't shoot me in the head, I don't believe that they exist. We have to open the eyes and the ears and to do what we have to do. If somebody shoots at you, you shoot. You don't go to the police.
Dr. Mordechai Kedar, thank you very much.
My pleasure.